this is the episode 2, everyone, of Beastie Kitty Community Coaching. This is the first game of the night that I will be analyzing. I'll be analyzing 5 in total, so let's get into it. Actually, I need to open this to see which player sent it. I think it's the Zerg. I hope it's the Zerg, because that's why I mentioned to you guys when you send your replays, make sure to include your name so I know who's actually in the game, because you know, from your email I can't really figure that one out. Alright, so let's see. Let's get started, shall we? Alright, well, losing the first Overlord, not good. Make sure the first Overlord goes here, and then the second one you can put here, or you can do it the other way around. First Overlord here, the second one here, whichever one you prefer. Wait, hold on. I mean, yeah, it says it's from Zerg point of view. Okay, so the point with doing link rushes like these, you need to kill your opponent. Like, doing the harassment like this is not worth, and right now you're behind. Even though it might seem like it's good for the Zerg, it's definitely not. And the reason for that is you have absolutely no economy behind this. This is Diamond League replay. So, you can only really do this if you're gonna go for the kill. And that means that the Terran has the units on the low ground, so you can kind of surround them and kill them. But because you didn't do any damage, you're kind of like just very, very far behind. It's very hard to transition out of this. And even though like you're ahead in drone by 1, the tech that you have is basically non-existent. You don't have, you know, Evo chambers, you don't have Baneling Nest, Lair is not done, no drones, and Terran is going for stim, and can just kind of like push you very, very quickly. I'm not sure how he doesn't end the game quick, but you're basically setting up yourself really, really far behind from the start. So if you already do stuff like this, your goal isn't to just cancel a natural. You need to go into main and do way, way more damage if you want to like actually win the game. Because if you looked at the drone count earlier, it was like 16 to 20 something SCVs, and yeah. At this point, you're getting ahead in the drone count, but you have no units. So that's why these kinds of, you know, pushes and plays are kind of very risky, because with this Spire tech especially, you actually have nothing to defend against this. So I'm not gonna go too deep into this replay, because that's kind of like the main issue why the game went wrong. So I'm not going to analyze every single thing, but that is the major point. But if you do get into situations like these, make sure to get your creep spread out. Make sure to not tech super fast, because this will happen. So you would rather try to overwhelm your opponent's first push with mass units and kind of keep droning up after that, instead of trying to tech to something really quick and getting ahead that game. Because if you do get your mutas out, you can actually do a lot of damage and, you know, harass and keep your opponent in your base. But if the guy went for your natural instead of your third, he could have potentially ended a game. But of course, when you're Terran, you can't really know that. So he took the safer route. But yeah, when you get behind, as a Zerg, at least in the games that I've seen in, what most Zergs prefer to do is kind of like overmake units, and then kind of like just swallow the opponent's army completely. And that way they get the map control, and then they can just mass drone once again. So for example, this would be a moment where you can double expand. Same principle, like you just demolished his army. So what you want to do is double expand, and just drone up both bases, because you know that he will be making turrets like he is right now. He's going to stay in his base kind of stuck and won't be able to move out for a while. So this is your timing to kind of like get your Evo chambers out, get your upgrades, Baneling Nest, more drones, and potentially even Tech to Hive, and definitely get the creep spread out quite a bit. So yeah, let's move into the next one. Okay, Xayad, let's do it. Like, you know, you can always win the games even from behind, but it's like you would rather work on, you know, that part of not getting behind, not getting in that position, than, you know, being like, okay, how do I come back from here? It's always good to know, but that's not what you should be, aiming for. Okay, we have another Zerg, Xayad over here. Send his replay. Let's see what he can do better. Proud member of the Cutie Club. Okay. Was that 2 drones? 1 drone. Ah, 1 drone isn't too bad. I mean, you don't want to lose drones, obviously, but if you lose 1, it's not the end of the world. This is worse for Terran, in my opinion, than it is for the Zerg, because now he has no Reaper, so if you went for like an all-in, he wouldn't be able to do much. Okay, let's see. This is the moment where you want to poke in, around 3:30. Just poke in with this Overlord, just look at his production, see what's going on, because even if your Overlord dies, you'll know what you're facing, and it's much better than just straight up kind of overreacting to something. I always suggest, if you cannot get scouting, always make some spores, like make a spore in the main, spore in the natural. And the best way I like to play Zerg is just continuously make queens, up to like 8 queens or so, because that gives you enough kind of firepower to defend anything, like Banshees, Liberators, you know, Hellbat pushes, or even 2-1-1. Having 8 queens with transfuses will help you quite a bit. So definitely keep going with the queens. And okay, you're going in with the Overlord. Perfect. There you go. Alright, you could have prevented this, like the Overlord to not die, just by going here and then going back. I guess the Viking came out anyway, so this game doesn't matter, but it's a small thing, but it does matter. So what did you see? You saw Stim, I think, right? Yeah, so you saw Stim, you saw Hellions. This can be fake, so don't be like, okay, you know, it's by 100%. It can be fake. The banelings are a little bit early, but that's fine. No big deal. Creep spread, let's see how many queens. Like right now, what you want to do, I would actually do another round of queens. I know this comes down to preference, because I know most Zergs do get layer around 5 something, but if you got another round of queens, what you could do is inject with these 2 queens and then send them to your third. So you would have 4 queens against 6 Hellions and all these links. So that means that he can't really like run in or do anything, because he would lose the Hellions. And then the next 2 queens that pop, you just keep them on these bases for injecting. Start your layer. At the same time, start 2 Evo chambers and just get the upgrades before your layer even finishes. Your units were out of position there a little bit. When you play against Hellions, always, no matter what direction they're coming, if they're coming from here, have your queens in this position so you can kind of push them back and make him not want to commit. If the Hellions are coming here, you know, have your queens in front, because Terran will never want to fight your queens, so it will kind of make the Terran pull back and not engage. And then if he does go, you know, in, you can just surround him with all your units and just pretty much kill him. Ah, you lost 3 drones. It was a pretty good trade for you. Kind of killing the Hellion potential for 3 drones. Now, this is the thing that I was talking about. Every time you see Starport, just make spores. Like, they will save you a lot of drones. I don't know if you will manage to kill any here, but if you had a spore here, your life would be a lot easier. Also, if you see Viking, make sure that your overlords are, you know, back chilling and not dying. Wow, this Viking has 5 kills. That is a little bit of a problem. So the first 2 overlords that you lost, it's kind of like necessary when you play against the Viking, but the other 3 are kind of too much, and it's 300 minerals. So the moment you see Viking, just try to pull all your overlords like this one instantly back and kind of prevent extra overlord losses for no reason. Okay. Make sure you always have some links. Like, these links right now are useless and they're completely wasted and mistimed. Because if there were like 8 links made a round before this one, you would be able to prevent those Hellions and you wouldn't lose any drones. But now they're kind of wasted and there's nothing else for them to do. So they're just gonna be like kind of chill here and yeah. Because Zerg is all about making the units at the right time and not necessarily like having units all the time, because if you make units too early, you're kind of killing your economy slowly but surely. And this is the thing that I was talking about earlier with the queens. Right now you only have 2 queens, which is not enough. Like, if the Terran kills your 2 queens, your creep spread is dead completely. So you need to make sure you work with at least 5 queens on creep spreading at this point. And I don't mean just creep spreading, but also having energy for injects, being able to prevent the medevac drops, because right now if he goes in for the like push, your 2 queens are not going to do anything. Like, they're not going to push back the medevacs, but if you have 5, he needs to worry to not get the medevac sniped. Almost really nice connections, but the base goes down. And again, if you have 3 more queens, you can transfuse that hatch and save yourself a lot of trouble. So losing the 4th base, you know, getting cancelled is not too big of a deal on start, but getting it killed the moment it finishes, it's kind of a big deal. So I like that you're going for double expand, because you're a little bit behind in economy, so you do want to catch up. And yeah. Upgrades going up. Okay, so you might be wondering, I mean, you sent this replay, right? So you're probably wondering stuff that you need to do better and, well, what happened with the supply and stuff like that. So, okay, to just kind of repeat what I said. So first things first, if you see a Viking, make sure no other overlord dies. If any other overlord in the first you die, you're making a mistake, and it's 100 minerals per overlord wasted. Second thing, make sure the units that you're making at the appropriate time. You can also try having a link here, so when he moves out, you can see when he's moving out, so then you make units instead of making them too early. Creep spread, I mean, it's okay with the number of queens you had, but it definitely, if you had more queens, it could be better. And the one mistake that's kind of critical is you're rushing lair, well, rushing, quote unquote, but you're not doing anything with it, right? Like, you got your hydras, but what are they doing now? They're not doing anything. And you're probably going to die to a big push or suffer a lot of losses. So imagine if you delayed your lair, right? And your lair finished, you know, I don't know, 30 seconds ago, and your Hydra Den is done just now. What you could have done with that is had so much more economy. But having Hydras at this point doesn't do anything, because you still have way less supply, and you don't really need Hydras. Like, there's not, you know, if you have queens in position and spores, you can kill the drops. So you can delay that a little bit. I see that you're trying to rush Hive, but if he attacks you right now, it's going to be really, really rough for you. So try to delay layer a little bit more. Make sure you have, I think 8 queens is a good number. 5 for creep spreading and also fighting the Hellions and 2 medevac drops and whatever else. And then 3 queens injecting your hatcheries. Yeah, this is very unfortunate. You're making 14 drones and he's about to push, I think. Or he might not, but we'll see. And always try to force creep where your 4th base is. Like this is, you know, on this map specifically, you want to have 1 creep tumor going this way, 1 creep tumor at least through the middle, and then most of your focus should be here, like this side. Because that's where Terran will be pushing. No Terran is going to go from here and push the natural at this point. Because this is such an open space that Terran doesn't want to engage there. So creep spread should have been focused here. Because right now, if he pushes in, you kind of don't have creep to work with. And your engagements are going to become way, way harder. Alright, he just comes here, pops your 4th. He makes a mistake here with the siege tanks. Like he's not covering them at all. So I think you're gonna clear this up. But still, suffering 4th base loss. You know, his 4th base is up and running. Still not the best position for you. If you played that a little bit better, you would have been 100% dead. But let's see. Make sure also, once your layer finishes, as you're getting your 4th, also get a macro hatch in your base. Because, especially with this playstyle, you're going to be making a buttload of lings. So you're going to need to have enough larvae to kind of be able to spend your money. Like you can't right now, for example. So make sure you have that. 6 Vipers with this is a little bit of overkill. I feel like 3 Vipers is the most what you need against bio. If you play against mech, 6 Vipers is fine, but if you play against bio, 3 Vipers are enough, because all you really need is to pull the tanks or blinding cloud them. So don't waste too much gas into it, and make sure you pop down the Ultra Cavern and get Adrenal Glands the moment your high finishes. Another thing, you just started +3 attack. If you have an option, like if you don't have enough gas and you have an option, should you get +3 attack or +3 armor, always go with the armor. Because as a Zerg, you would rather have your units survive and banings connect rather than your units doing more damage. Because if they don't get to the enemy, well, they're not going to do any damage. So it's another thing to consider. Nice pulls, but no links to cover for the Hydras, which is a big problem. Again, the money is due to the injects. And also, whenever I coach Zerg players, I always tell them this. Like, if you can't spend your money, it's fine. Like, if you want to improve, you gotta admit that you suck. This is no matter what league you are. So don't be like, you know, I saw a pro player having, you know, 1 hatch per base and maybe 1 extra in the main. So I'm not gonna make extra hatches because that's a bad thing to do. It is a bad thing to do if you play perfect. But the moment you admit, you know, I'm a potato, I suck, which is fine. That's how you improve. Even as a pro player, you gotta admit that you suck compared to the best, and that's how you improve. So it's better to have 3 extra hatcheries right here and, you know, actually spend these minerals than to have minerals and be quote-unquote pro. So, you know, be realistic with yourself. If you can't spend the money, if you're always floating money no matter what the matchup is, just add extra hatcheries, and you can just make more queens. So like if you have 4 hatches here or 3 hatches, you can just have 3 queens injecting. And that way you improve your gameplay by quote-unquote doing what's worse. But, you know, eventually you're going to be able to spend the money the more you practice. So then those extra 3 hatcheries are going to be useless. So then you can cut down to 2 extra hatcheries, then 1. And there you go. That's pretty much it. Let's go to the next one. This is one of those games where you didn't play bad. Like, you didn't do anything, like, critically bad. But it's just, like, little things that kind of add up in the end. You know? And, that's pretty much what happened. I'm trying to see TVZ mech. Okay, I know what this is. Let's do a PVT and I'll go back to these two. Whoa, my game. Do you guys see this? Alright, I'm gonna reset the game after this one. I'll just do it like this. It's BattleNet, or not BattleNet, but StarCraft being messed up when you like leave replays or enter replays. Sometimes this happens with the screen. Actually, I'm gonna do it now. Screw it. It's tilting me. Okay. Thank you, Blizzard, for that awesome bug. Love it. 10 out of 10. Okay. Let's get back into the game. So we have a PVT and then double TVZ to check out. And again, for the future, when people send their replays, people in the Cutie Club will have priority as far as the replay analysis go, and then also giving an actual detailed description of your replay, so I know, what the replay is, and adding your name, like your in-game name, will increase your chance to kind of get picked for me to check. Okay, so Coco versus Flash. 2 potatoes from my little team. I'm joking, we're the best. So, let's see. Coco doesn't scout. That's gonna... I mean, you should scout. Coco, come on, don't be greedy. You're gonna die to stuff like proxy reactor cyclones, or 111 proxy, or ghost, so make sure to scout. Don't be greedster. Also, why are you playing on this map? Is this... No, it's not previous patch. Do you guys play this map just like hosted it? Because if it was from previous season, it obviously wouldn't have loaded. It would ask me to like rejoin the BattleNet. Okay, that chrono boost was very wasted. I'm not actually sure if you need the second chrono boost on the Stalker anymore, because the chrono boost is changed. So I think only having one is enough, because I think the majority of the second chrono boost gets wasted into the gateway. Also, don't chrono boost the warp gate. You do not need that, especially against Terran. There's simply like no reason for it. Just chrono boost your probes. I would say in this match, because chrono boost lasts longer, chrono boost the first Stalker and then just keep chrono boosting your probes. Just get that economy as soon as you can, or as fast as you can. Or you can save 1 or 2 chrono boosts for Blink. Or you can use like 1 on Blink, 1 on Robo. I just don't think that it's worth using it on Warp Gate. Because you'll see, like right now, this Warp Gate that you chrono boosted and this Stalker, like look at this Stalker, useless. It's not going to do anything. The Warp Gate that you got, useless. Like you don't need the extra 3 Stalkers this fast. But having faster Obs or Blink would have been a lot better. So another problem why this is bad, not scouting. What a lot of Protosses are doing these days, because 3 ranks openers became a lot more popular. So what a lot of Protosses are doing these days, they scout, see that you're expanding, and then they kind of pull away the probe, like let's say hide it here, wait for the Reaper to come out, and then they go for the double scout. Because sometimes you can see the factory, sometimes you can see extra barracks coming in, and that way you instantly know if it's bio or or 111 build. So for example, he made the factory here. So if you did that double scout with the probe, you would have seen the factory, so you would know, okay, it's not a bio play, so you don't need to worry. Because right now, if it comes with like stim push, you would just die. Like you actually just die. So basically, playing too greedy for the cost of one probe scout, it's not worth losing games because of something like that. And I know that you might not be losing games all that often to stuff like that, but still, you want to eliminate silly losses as much as you can. These two stalkers are completely mispositioned. No matter, if you would scout it, he's going factory, or even if you didn't, you need to have your stalkers wherever he would drop first. So on this map, you don't need stalkers in the main because, they always either drop or harass the natural. So this is where you need the first 3 stalkers. And then you would warp in 3 extra stalkers and put them in the main. There's no point putting anything here, because if he comes with a bio push, you can't defend that. So 3 stalkers are not going to do anything. If the Widow Mine drop comes here, I mean, you don't need stalkers to defend the Nexus. And if the Banshee comes there, you don't need, stalkers again. So stalkers are mispositioned, and I can see already you're going to be bleeding some probes in the natural. So make sure you have your units where they're supposed to be. So if you played, for example, Neon Light, is that what it's called? You would put the stalkers first in the main base, and then you would warp 3 extra in the natural. Because that's the map, like on that map, they usually harass the main base first. So that's something that's map specific, but yeah. Why are your stalkers here? You just saw the Banshee. I mean, it has no health, but another one can pop. Especially after seeing the Cloak Banshee harass, like you should know that there's nothing else coming. Because it's not like he's gonna push right now with Bio or whatever else after going Cloak Banshee. Like right now, you need to put like 3 stalkers here, 3 stalkers here, 3 stalkers here, and just mass Chrono Boost pros while going Double Forge. When you see stuff like Cloak Banshees or Terran overcommitting to harass, whether it's Widow Mines or, Cloak Banshee, like all you need to do as a Protoss is set up your units, defend, and just mass Chrono Boost probes. Because you're already ahead in economy, because you have the 3rd Nexus. So all you need to do is saturate that base as fast as possibly you can. Here, you see siege tanks. If you took a peek a little bit inside, again, you're not really scouting enough. So if you took a look inside, you could see like, oh, okay, I don't need to worry about anything for at least next, 4 minutes or so, 3-4 minutes until Stim is done. Because you would see that the tech labs are just about to, be popped with the barracks. So his Stim is not even started. You would see 2 tanks, but you also would see the factory is floating to make reactors. So you would know this is going to be just like a normal play. It's not going to be mass tank push. So, yeah, you just kind of lack in a lot of information and a lot of positioning early game. That's your biggest mistake right now. You're playing too, kind of like, how to describe it? You're playing too much like, oh, I hope nothing happens. Instead of being like, okay, he can do this, this how I prepare for this how I prepare for this. Even when you didn't scout. But again, you should definitely scout more. Whether it's with probe early or with obs now. Okay, Banshee here. Again, no stalkers, misposition. There's a shield battery, but again, it's one of those things where, you didn't lose 50 probes, but you know, probe pool here, probe pool there, losing some probes here, 11 probes, yikes. And this is exactly what I'm talking about right here. This is why Coco is Loco on my stream, the mod, and again not the YouTuber Loco, just Loco Coco. Like at this point, I don't even need to watch the rest of the game. This is why you lose your games, because this is one of those things where it's not like I just didn't do it this game, because the pattern keeps repeating itself of no scouting, of playing blindly, of not putting your units where they're supposed to be. Again, here, just one stalker. What if another Banshee comes here? You bleed more units. No stalkers in the main, and then everything in the third. Now, the reason why I paused here is because you're making 2 shield batteries, and this is exactly what I was just talking about. If you went in with his obs, and you saw the tech labs, you wouldn't make those shield batteries because you would know you don't need them. You can't push this early. But again, instead of those 2 shield batteries, those could have been 2 forges that are working on upgrades. Those could have been, you know, extra gateways. A lot of different things that you could use right now, but the money is just kind of completely wasted. And that's why, kids, it's very important to scout. See, you're playing like you're expecting something, but there's nothing. And again, Stalker's misposition. Yikes. Yikes. I mean, at this point, you're dead. Like, look at the soup. Not only you're behind on army, you're behind on probes, which something that should never happen in PvT. You should be ahead on probes. And then, like, PvT these days comes down to Protoss getting a super fast third, defending any harass if there is some, and then crushing the first Terran push. Like, that first engagement is what matters the most. Which in this case, like, I mean, you should not be able to defend this. Also, your upgrades are late. The moment you plan to your third, and if you warped in like 9 stalkers in total, 3, 3, 3, you should have added double forge. Right now you would be like halfway to 2-2. So I'm not sure if the fight actually happens before the upgrades, but if you pushed in here, you know, fighting 1-1 against 0-0 is a huge thing. You're trying to buy time, which is good. I like that. Buying time for the storm. But, you know, at this point, it's kind of like one of those things where it doesn't really matter how well you're playing at this point. You're just too far behind. Like, he's almost doubling the supply. And if you look at the game, like, not much happened, right? Like, the only thing that happened is the Banshee harass. But that's kind of how it is. So yeah, focus more on scouting. Open your eyes. Like, don't just... very often I see people, like, scout, but they don't really do anything about it. And what I mean by that is they see what the Terran is doing or the opponent is doing, but they don't really, like, realize what that actually means. So when you see something, try to be like, okay, what can come out of this? When can he push? When can he do this? When can he do that? And so on. And yeah. Do you guys hear that void ray? That's a bug in StarCraft, by the way. The void ray charged up, so I need to... Yeah, I need to leave the game again. Blizzard, please. Fix your game. Oh, Battle.net required an update. Okay, I will update you. Oops. That field when you open a website. You know, one of those websites that just play their videos the moment you open it? The worst kind. The worst kind. The only website that should play videos from the moment you open them is YouTube. Okay. Okay. Hopefully no more relogging needed. Hopefully the game works. Okay, let's check Yappin. And then we have another replay after this one. And we are done with this episode. Okay. Bullia against Yappin. I don't know if this was a ladder game, but Bullia is actually like a organizer, manager of Pigpan in their clan wars. So let's see what you do here. Okay. So far so good. That's a cutie Reaper right there. Wait, what do you see? You saw pull first. Okay, so you keep the Reaper back. I like it. Nice. Good work, good work. Now you need to run across the map. Like, the moment you do this, you need to run across the map, because there's always a possibility of them going for roaches. And if you did go across the map, you would see the roaches here, so you can kind of react quicker to it. You need to cancel, start cyclones. Nice, cancel this. Pull the mules and the SCVs instantly. Can start a Banshee. Nice. Nice defense. Lost two SCVs. Could have saved them, but not bad. Not bad at all. So now this is the time you instantly counter push. So yep, and I don't know if you were watching the stream earlier. I was playing against Zerg. It was that game where I said I'm gonna get Road Ravager rushed, and then I did. So the moment I defended the Road Ravager, which in this case you only played against roaches, instantly push out across the map, because he invested, like, you know, some part of his economy to do this. So what he will be doing is mass droning to kind of catch up with the economy, which is the whole point of the build that this guy was doing, to kind of put pressure on you and then just mass drone and get ahead in economy. So what you would want to do is push the third. The creep spread isn't connected, so with these units you can potentially kill the hatch, or at least force a lot of units for you to come back into this game, and kind of bring back the balance to the game. Okay, you're doing that. Very nice, very nice. Me like it. So far you're doing all the good moves. Okay, I was gonna say that's a mistake. Don't chase, just do whatever damage you can. The Banshee. The Banshee is like, right now, the Banshee is, this is just a small tip. The Banshee is useless right now. Like, it's one hit from getting killed. So what I love to do is, like, put the whole Banshee in hold position like here. Try not to run into the Spore, and just kind of kill drones and just make him multitask a little bit more. I mean, in this situation, the Queen might have been there to pop it, but it's like one of those things that you can do. Make sure the Cyclones are not too far away from the Hellbats, so the Lynx don't just surround them and kill them. But yeah, this was a very good counter push. Good micro. And if you look at the units lost, yeah, very nice. And also the SCV count and the drone count, you're super, super far ahead. So the point is, you name this replay Swarm Hosts. TVZ Swarm Host. Now, I can already tell you, you didn't lose because of Swarm Host. You lost because you did something that wasn't that great from here on out, because you're so far ahead now that we're gonna see why you lost the game and why you didn't win earlier in this game. He is very, very far behind. Let's look. Okay, second Banshee, useless. This already should have been like a Viking, or I always like to make Viking. So Viking, clean up the Overlords, clean up this path for later on harass. or a Liberator that you would have instantly sent to the main base while you were pushing on the third, which would have also been a good move. But I will probably go for both of those. Since I do like to be more aggressive, after the first initial Banshee, I would have gone Liberator, send it in the main, push it to third, and then after that go Viking and clear the Overlords. Another Armory should have been down already. Third should have been on the point. Make sure to keep making supply depots. Your macro slipped quite a bit in here, and you have to kind of keep that up, because if your macro was, you know, on point, you would be like 90 supply right now, and it would allow you to be more flexible with what you want to do. Now, this is the mistake that I was talking about before. This is the mistake I see so many mech players do. They get ahead, and instead of doing a big timing push, what their train of thought is, if I just keep harassing, I'll win the game. That's exactly the opposite of what you're going to do. If the Zerg has 0 units and you keep killing drones, sure. But Zerg has units, and you could see that with just a little poke with the Hellions. You could have seen it as links. But what happens here and what players do is they keep trying to harass, they keep trying to kill drones, and instead they're killing their own army. So when they do want to push eventually, their army is like half of what they should be because they were harassing and not doing anything. Because I always tell this to people as well. You never kill the Zerg economy. You can never kill the Zerg economy. You can only delay it. So every time you kill drones, you're not winning a game. Like if you kill probes when you're playing against Protoss, you're killing his economy because he can't really recover. Or against Terran. But when you're killing against Zerg, the only thing you're doing, he's just going to do another round of drones and then delay whatever he was doing. So if you keep running by Hellions, you're losing your units forever, but you're just delaying his economy. So, gotta be careful with that. First, the units here. Let's see. What do you see? First, the units should always be Thors, and follow it up with 2 medevacs as well. And this should have been on reactor already because the second Banshee is pretty useless. So the second push that you want to be doing with, or the second push you want to be doing with mech is a lot of Hellions, preferably with +1, or even without, it doesn't matter. And 2 medevacs, so you can load up your Thors and push the 4th base. Now, the upgrade is very late for mech. This should have been like almost done at this point. And also another armory. And after those 2 initial Thors, not only you're going to be safe against Mutas, because you have no idea what he's doing, but you're also going to be able to do that push on the 4th, which like 2 Thors, 2 medevacs, and then a bunch of Hellions that you produced meanwhile. So, yeah. But kind of doing that harass, you kind of kill that potential because you lost 4 Hellions and you have 8 here. So, 33% of your Hellions went to rip. And this is the problem you're having, quote unquote. This is one of those things that I always tell people. I was coaching someone recently, I think it was Flash, and he asked me, when do I push? Maybe it wasn't Flash, I don't know. He asked me, when do I push with mech? There's no answer to that. I can't tell you push it, 10:30. It depends how the game went, and this is something you need to recognize as a mech player. As a bio player, you always push when stim is done, right? When you have 2 first medevac drops or whatever. When you play mech, what you need to do is recognize where you're in the game. So early on, you defended a roach really well, and then you did the counter push that you traded it really, really well. So the second, why do I keep saying first, second? The second attack you should have done is with the 2 Thors, and then based off of that, you decide what your next attack is. Because if you did that Thor attack, you would have killed the 4th base. And then, based off of that, you would be like, okay, well, I killed the 4th base, killed a lot of the 3rd base, I can push with +1, and I don't need to wait for him to come back into the game or wait for the Vipers. But this way, you're just kind of sitting back, not doing anything. And Zerg is just like, okay, well, I'm getting this stack out, I'm getting this stack out, I'm getting these units, I'm getting these units. And at the end of the day, these swarm hosts that are coming, they would not be coming if you did the Thor push and if you did the follow-up push that you're doing now a little bit earlier, because he would have to be, at that point, he would have to make more Hydrants to survive and not Swarm Hosts. But let's see what happens. Like, if you look at the supply now, it's evened out. And the reason for that is you did a lot of damage, but again, you didn't kill the Zerg economy, you just delayed it. And because you didn't do a follow-up push, he came back into the game. Yeah, at this point, this is a no bueno. A no bueno. You lost a lot of your Hellbats to Banelings, which you really, really need to tank against Foremost. From here on out, this is one of those things that if he doesn't mess up, you can't really come back. Like, he's just gonna... He can just make another 10 Swarm Hosts and just make your life a nightmare. But yeah, like I said, that you know, when we were earlier in the replay, I said that you didn't lose the game to Swarm Hosts. You lost the game because you messed something up. And I know this like might feel unfair because you didn't technically do anything wrong, but you didn't follow up the stuff you were doing really well with anything. You were just kind of sitting back and you let him come back into the game. And just doing the Hellion Harass is not gonna win you the game after the initial push. So try to be more, you know, timing oriented instead of just you know, running by Hellions and then doing a random push. And this is again the thing I see quite often. Mech players just not really knowing when they're supposed to push and losing games even when they get ahead because of it. But yeah. Okay, last replay of the day, boys. Then I will be going offline. It's 1 AM. Let's see what happens. Oh god, this bug again. Ah, whatever. I'm not gonna... Can this be fixed if I do like full screen? Let's try. Nope, that did not fix it at all. Okay, well, we're just gonna do it with this thing on the bottom being bugged. Okay, TVZ mech. Let's see from our Terran boy over here. I'm gonna speed things up. Alright, so yes, V Scout sees the hatch first. Whoa, what? No. This is already very wrong. You need to go Reaper expand. There's simply absolutely freaking no reason to delay your CC in order to get your factory out first, because you really don't get anything out of it. The difference that your Hellions will come out is completely insignificant, but the difference in your economy is extremely big. And yeah, you're with this opener, you're kind of putting yourself behind from the get-go, which is yeah, it's a problem for sure. If you're worried about Lings, which maybe that's the reason why you're going for, you know, this super early factory, you can just kind of keep your Reaper home, especially because you SCV scout, so you can kind of know what the Zerg is doing. But if the Zerg is going hatch first, you should be fine with, you know, with just seeing what he has and having that one Reaper on the map. Another thing, this super early engineering bay is not needed at this point. You would rather start okay, hold up. Okay, so the first thing you need is a build order. This build is not optimal, that's number one. Number two, you make the starport super quick. Like, look at this, it finishes at 324, but you don't make anything out of it for full minute and 30, almost 2 minutes after finish, you didn't make anything. So make sure to kind of copy one of the builds. There are some build order guides on my YouTube channel, Or you can just kind of watch pro games and try to just write down what they're doing and copy those. Because so far in this game, there's a lot of like kind of like putting yourself behind through having less economy than you should, through having a, you know, build order that's not as efficient. I mean, you got the starport, but do you really need it at this point? And that's something that you definitely need to fix in order to kind of work on other things. Because I think build orders are pretty much the basic thing in StarCraft 2. You kill the third hatch here, and that's good, but the way that StarCraft works is build orders are basic things, I guess, are something you should learn first, like how to make depots, SCVs, and all that. The second thing is the build order. Without a proper build order, you're not working towards anything. And what I mean by that is you're kind of playing, wild. You don't have, a schedule of when do I push out, when do I get a third. So your every game probably looks different, and it's very hard to improve yourself if your game to game gameplay is different, because you don't know. You also can't judge if you're doing well in the game or not, because last game you won, but this game you lost, and you're like, oh, I don't know why that happened. And that's because you're doing different things, and sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't, and sometimes you don't even know if you're doing them well because you have nothing to compare them to, because you're doing different build or no build every game. So that's something that is a #1 thing that you need to work on before moving on to anything else. Because right now, you don't have Thors, and when you have a build order, everything kind of makes sense, I guess, as far as why you make certain things at what point. But this way, for example, here you get caught off guard with mutas. But I know that some of your games you defend mutas easily, and that's because of what I just said. So definitely try to get a build order first and practice it. Work towards it. Every time somebody's struggling with a new build, I always tell them the build works. You're probably just not executing it well. So try to be more organized, I guess. I don't know what word to use. And just kind of follow that structure and work towards that and towards improving. And whenever you want to see if you're doing better or worse, what you can do is like save one of your first replays when you do it, play the build for like 3 weeks, and then compare it to then, and you'll see that you improved, and then you can compare that to what pro players are doing and how far they're getting with that build at certain points. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That is pretty much it. Okay, that was the there's the Void Ray again. The Void Ray charged up bug. Okay, let me just do one of these so I can do the. Okay, so yeah, that's it. I want to thank you guys for watching. That was the second episode of Beastie Cutie Community Coaching. Once again, if you want to submit your replays, people from Cutie Club, from my team, have the priority in me, going through the replays. If you want one of your replays, analyzed and reviewed and tell you what you can do better, all you need to do is join my Discord server. There's information there. If you can't find it, just ask someone and they will help you out. Just make sure you include a short description of what's going on in the replay, and also your in-game name plus league. But that's it. Second episode done. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you're enjoying this series. And have a good day, good night, good morning, wherever you are. And I'll see you guys next time.